Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you join us from in the world. Welcome to Open Up, our live talk show. I'm RJ Horner, and I'm the host of Open Up. I'm also the vice president of Voice of Men 360. So thank you for joining us today on behalf of myself and the Voice of Men 360 team. Voice of Men 360 is a not for profit organization founded in 2020 based in Toronto, Canada. We were founded we were born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to help provide services to support our men and boys in overcoming their life challenges. We're part of International Men's Day, and International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years so far and is now represented in 90 countries around the world doing various activities. International Men's Day follows 6 pillars which represent the overall well-being of boys and men, and we follow in those same footsteps here at Voice of Men 360. So why is Open Up so important? Because men are not open with their matters. We don't share our important matters with people. We're not willing to open our hearts to people. And when we keep this within ourselves, it creates emotional challenges, which we hope to eliminate here. That's why we want to create an open space and allow individuals to share their life journey through our platform. We aim to create awareness about the life challenges and the struggles that our men and boys have to go through in their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. Please, all walks of life are invited to participate in our programming. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this program. Open Up is on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we bring out individuals to allow them to share their life experiences with you. And so before I introduce my guest today, I want to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's program are those of our speakers and do not necessarily represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness to the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We're not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us info@voiceofmen360.org. Today, our speaker is Armand King. He's certainly an interest of us today. He is the co-founder of the not-for-profit Paving Great Futures. Armand draws upon his direct experience with the criminal injustice system, including incarceration and the challenges of reentry, to guide others. For many years, he's been misguided and by the streets and helped to misguide others, not realizing the detriment of his actions. Life for him is now filled with rewriting his past by helping others pave a great future. Fueled by his experience in the streets, King serves as a shepherd to guide others out of the prison pipeline, criminal activity, and domestic human sex trafficking that he knows all too well, and we discuss here, as you know. Armand's experience includes creating and implementing new programs, serving current and former gang members, criminal justice involved individuals, and high-risk youth. He serves on boards and task force on law enforcement relations, human trafficking, and victim advocacy issues. He conducts community outreach for high-risk communities and serves as a credible messenger and mentor to young adults and juveniles on probation and in custody. We want to offer a special welcome to Armand King. Thanks for joining us today and being willing to share your life journey with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
That's quite the intro. I reorganized it a little because I think it tells a story of you and your path. But tell us a little bit about that past. Again, you said you were not only a detriment to yourself, but a detriment to others. Take us back there if you could.
Well, to start briefly, I don't want to dive too deep into necessarily my upbringing. I hate talking about upbringing because only the fact that it can help, and a lot of people resonate who have lived similar backgrounds to mine. I am far from alone, and woe is me. Armand's the only guy who went through these turmoils and different traumas growing up because I wasn't. Out of 8 of my best friends, I was one of 8 that kind of had a father in the household. All of our dads were gone. We had to raise ourselves. 2 of those 8 friends had literally had their fathers murdered before they were 6 years old. One watched his father murdered in front of his face. So dealing in this work, in this not-for-profit work that I've been doing for the past 10 years, I've come across hundreds of youth, hundreds of males and females who had, when you hear their background, it makes mine sound like I grew up in Disneyland and I had everything I possibly wanted. So, but mine's, I'm an 80s baby, an American 80s baby who was born in what we call the Black Plague now, where we were literally under chemical warfare in the States for many years, and we call that chemical was crack cocaine that was introduced to Black and brown communities around the country, and it really just destroyed and was detrimental to our communities. It further increased or put the prison industrial complex on steroids and blew up, took the foster care system and blew that up. And meanwhile, families were being torn apart and ripped apart. It was a horrible era. And I say from about 1984 to about 1995, this went on. And so I'm a product of that. And when you think about kids, not necessarily me, but my other peers, it was common to have your peer that was born with crack in their system, with a chemical imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you know hundreds of these babies that were born, they didn't have a chance from the beginning. So I was born amongst that. Another thing that was going on prime time, early 80s or late 80s, early 90s was this thing called the gang epidemic. And never before in the history of Black people and African Americans, specifically Black Americans here, was there ever an era where we were just killing ourselves relentlessly for no reason other than a color you had on or a neighborhood you were from. So I lived through that, watching from older family members and people in the community that were either dying or just going to jail at large rates. And even myself at 12, 13 years old, the coolest thing in the world was to be a gangbanger, or a gang member affiliated some kind of way. So you didn't have an option. This was what you wanted to do. It was made cool by media. It was made cool and fair seeming by those around you and in your community. And that is just what you thought the image of a Black man was. You had to be some kind of tough thug. And that's what was forced on us. And we followed suit. Shortly after that era of being a wannabe gang member, like I call myself, now that I look back at it, my 12, 13, 14-year-old self was in no way, shape, form, or fashion a gangbanger, and should not even have thought that, but I did, and did activities that exhibit a gangbanger. Quickly after that, pimping and prostitution became the biggest thing in my community. It was from crack, gangbanging, to what seemed to us in our generation as the lighter or the lesser of the evils, as people say. So when we were introduced to pimping and prostitution, or what I call urban domestic human sex trafficking, it was via HBO special Pimps Up, Hoes Down. And I just remember that was the turning point. Watching that video and the light bulb going off in myself and my friend's head is, ooh, we finally found something that we could do, and you didn't get in trouble for it. So we went that route, and so that is the early beginning, and of the life movie. You'll have to wait for the debut release to see everything.
No, that was amazing. I love the way you've laid out your story. You certainly talked about the influences that you've had, especially with regards to mass media and the way they portrayed life, because a lot of people, young age, we are young and impressionable, and we spend a lot of time in front of the television looking for that excitement, that entertainment, but they're also showing us a way to go out there and live life and emulate life. And you were given, like you say, a prime example of something. You know what? Hey man, here's our business plan. Let's go see what we can do with this.
Right.
And you think that's great because you learned it from television.
Right. And then you just get further confirmations that it's okay, because it wasn't Pimps Up, Hoes Down might have been the first exposure, right? That was the first time. But then it was just, for whatever reason, at that particular period, we were bombarded with constant pimping and prostitution imagery and and sound in the music and the videos and everything that my generation was into, you could not help but get introduced and put in your face pimping. So as a young man with no proper guidance, with nobody to know, if no one ever tells you, even when people tell you that's wrong, don't do it, as a young person you still do it, sometimes. But so imagine, take away the person whoever said don't do it, and instead you heard go do it constantly, you're gonna do it even more. So we did it. And the MTV, BET, VH1, they made sure to consistently play videos, and all of our favorite rappers that we listened to, they were right along with the wave just to let us know that the lifestyle we were pursuing was good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's exactly what the market was all about. It was all about selling that lifestyle to the youth, to the young people who would become, the buyers, and perpetuate this market and perpetuate the system. And I love that you talked about the impacts of it, because again, you got caught up in the system, right?
Right.
You lived that life. You paid the price of it by going to jail, as many do. Some too many, like you say.
And I went to prison for cannabis.
Oh, even worse.
I went to prison. I went to prison at 21 years old for 10 pounds of cannabis weed that is now on the stock market, and people can make $10 million off of
Right.
10,000 pounds.
And is it legal in your state now or location?
Oh yeah, it's legal in our state. Not it's not federally legal yet, but it's legal in our state. And because I have 2 felonies now from cannabis, the same offense, I got 1 state charge and 1 federal charge, where I did 3 years in federal penitentiary. First time ever being in trouble by the law. And I go straight to the pros. 9 different institutions across the United States for 10 pounds of weed. So I'm now that industry, I'm locked up and locked out of it. I cannot legally go get a license right now to
Right.
operate.
Yep. Even though, yep, you got some experience for sure. Exactly. But that's exactly it. You get caught up in a system, and then you know what? They change laws, and not to suit the people, but to suit the
capital needs.
Yes, the capital market. Absolutely. So it's all to perpetuate the system. But I love that you talked about the side effects. You know what? How many? Again, these are young men, young fathers, young family men, or
Right.
potential family men. They're destroying the families. They're creating this foster system. Wow. What do we do with that?
It's a relearning. Like none of these problems that we're talking about right now or that we're facing were created overnight.
Right.
It's a long line. These problems, especially systematic problems, these were created before me and you were alive, before our parents were alive. So this problem that we're living through now and trying to attack in our own ways, with you, with this podcast and whatever else you're doing. If this was the piece alone, you just getting the information out and proper information. That's your part of the fight. You're doing a part. My part might be different, but it's a part. But I really don't believe we can. Is going to change overnight just because of how deeply rooted these problems are in the world. But what we don't do is say it's so deeply rooted and before my time, I'm not going to do anything. You have to do something and know what you're preparing the world for. And it starts with your immediate sphere of influence. Neither one of us may be a Martin Luther King or a great, speaker or a leader out there in the world leading thousands of people. But you don't have to be that. You can lead the 4 or 5 people in your household, your nephew, you're the kid in the neighborhood who has no father, and you have the time, taking not just your son to go to the baseball game, but that kid that's down the street with the single mom, and you being a good influence on that person. These are the things that we do to change this. Recognizing the failures in the system, in the school system, in the education system, and not just talking about it and waiting for legislation and politicians to make the changes, but step up and make the changes. Because if you have not noticed, waiting for politicians, clergy, waiting for those quote unquote typical leaders to make substantial changes. I don't know about Canada, but I've been here 40 years on this earth. I haven't seen it one time. You know, these problems that are in the inner cities that I grew up with, they have not changed a little bit. They still exist. There's a reason we had to start our organization, Paving Great Futures Out Here. It was either we were just going to complain about the system and the cycle of death and incarceration continuing, or we were going to man up and do something about it. Man up, woman up, and do something about it. So I'm not the beggar. You know, I understand the need for protest and for people to bring awareness and fight in that manner. I understand it, but my time is limited, and that might not be my role. Respect the role, know the need for it, but I'd rather do my side, which is the action side, and I'm gonna work on the solutions right now and build a team of people who can work on the solutions right now. So like I said, there's many different ways to go about stopping this and fighting this. And what I just take my organization, the actual work that's being done alone that I've seen for the past decade, true results in the change of people, not just men, but women as well. We have intervention in some of the worst middle schools in San Diego, where we have groups of kids that have been identified as the special hard to reach kids. The SOS cases, what they call them. And we do a pimp prevention class with them. And we don't call it a pimp prevention class because we know that's just one of the problems, the symptoms off of the root issue of poverty we deal with. So we have that. We have a women's entrepreneur class where we really we target women survivors of sex trafficking, but not limited to just them. We have on-the-job training for formerly incarcerated, helping them to truly get the services they need so they don't go back to jail. You know, job placement. Right now, we're tasked with getting over 100 youth, Black youth employed in the next year. We just got a grant for that. So we are attacking the problem on many levels. I say the core base of that is economics. Most people that are getting in trouble in the impoverished, marginalized communities, it's not because they were sickos, animals, crazy people. It's based off and rooted in poverty, and centuries of systematic racism and oppression.
Yep. And marginalization, keeping them down, keeping them as limited as they could be. That was kind of the attitude that has, led up, honestly, until modern day, where we're finally we're finally paying attention and saying this can't continue to exist this way. Like you say, we are an awareness organization. You are very action oriented, and we applaud you for that. How did you make it happen? How did that begin? From coming out of prison yourself, trying to reintegrate, where did you go from there? How did it come to this?
It was another journey and a whole nother chapter of the book. And no, I was not ready. I thought I was. I got the most in tune with myself when I was in prison, but I was still a young man and my mind wasn't fully developed. What kept me out was luckily, and what helps keep a lot of people out, as soon as you get out of jail, out of prison, is the most crucial time to capture an individual from not going back, from receding, right? Absolutely. So if there's not a system or something in place to help that individual, the wraparound services needed, and it starts with the basic needs: housing, clothing, or what's called shelter, clothing, and money, resources. So a job, a place to live, and then a lot of it's like set up for you to fail when you get out of prison. Your probation officer, the system, they give you this list of jobs, and half the jobs on here, they're looking at, they already know you're coming because of that. They look at you funny, or they're jobs that are just bottom level jobs, when in reality there's so many high paying good jobs that hire felons. The construction industry, one of the biggest industries you can move up on based on your work ethic, and they hire felons. It's a felon friendly occupation, but that you can end up making $35 an hour in 10 years, 5 years, 6 years, electrician apprenticeship, plumbing, all these different trades. And a lot of these things that people were in prison doing, but when they get out, they might have been working that job in prison, but it doesn't transfer over here, nor are they told and walk through the process to do that. So they don't even have an option for them. So they're set up for failure from the beginning. And then, I just hear different situations. It's never the same. So it's not like the prison, for one, is not setting you up to win, to be a better person, to be reacclimated to society from the beginning. And then when you're just released, you're just released. So me, I went right back to the streets. Luckily, I had an older friend I call him my brother, and he had a restaurant. We've been in the restaurant industry off and on our whole life. Um, and when I came home, he made me a manager immediately. He bought me a car from the auction, and he put me in a 5-bedroom house that I had. I had to pay $500 a month for it. And he secured that. So a lot of the stresses weren't on me. But unfortunately, my mind, I was still immature. And at that time when I came home, the actual pimping and prostitution exploded ×3 from when I went in. So now the majority of my friends, I was close to 100% of maybe I'll say 20 people, they were all in the game. So when I came home and I fell right back amongst my same crowd, because I love them. It wasn't that they were bad people. I understood what they were doing. So it wasn't like, oh, stay away from these bad guys. That wasn't my mentality, so it wasn't hard for me to fall back in. It was like, yes, I can't wait to see my friends. But now I'm seeing them and they're in, while I'm out with this fresh tan Saturn that I got from the auction that my friend got for the auction from me. And my friends are in Mercedes Benzes and Navigators, and rims are doing magic as the rims are going by, and they're still with all these pretty girls, and they're going making money. So to my 24, 25-year-old self, that looked like what I need to play catch up. These are my peers, my friends, and they're still successful. And once again, I got caught for cannabis. At that time, being a pimp, you did, it was unheard of for you to go to jail for pimping. It was not a thing. Sure. So it wasn't like I had to, oh, dang, I went to jail for that. I'm not going to do that anymore. It was like, no, I'm not going to sell weed anymore. That's what sent me to jail, but I'm going to go get my money this other way I know how. So I immediately jumped back in the game. And I was off and on for a while until I realized mentally, I never liked it. Even when I could have been biggest bragging inside, you just couldn't tell your friends you did not like doing what you were doing because you would have been uncool. So when my mind finally cracked and like, I am over this. Then I stepped out. And then from there was a process of rebuilding myself, trying to really figure out who was Armand. I didn't know. No, I'm not a pimp for life. No, I'm not a gangster for life. All these things you psych yourself out and say repeatedly throughout your years. No, I'm not. You know what I mean? So I'm more than that. But what is that? So I went through a process of not knowing I was going through a process. I was going through a process of knowing who the hell I was.
Sure, absolutely. So what do you think was the turning point then? When do you think you went from Armand the pimp, you know what I mean, to I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to build this better life for me and for everybody else coming out?
So 2 points, two major pivot points. 2 months before I came home from prison, my best friend, my brother, was murdered by 4 kids, right? That was probably the most devastating thing that's ever happened to my life to this day. So that happened 2 months before I came home. Like I said, when I came home, confusion period, going back and forth, really not knowing what to do. And then that last one, the day I was like, no, I'm done. I was with a girl who was really, really, she was done too mentally, and she had been in for a long time. And I was out of the game, and she had got me back in, had given me a lot of, he gave me 2 cars, gave me a house. Like that was her luring me into the game. And one day we were in Arizona. And she was just she was doing a lot of things like on purpose to make me mad. And it was so obvious. Like I don't hit women, have never one day in my life haven't pinched a girl. So she was trying to get me to hit her. And it was at that moment I was already just done mentally. And I just remember I caught her doing some stuff she wasn't supposed to be doing. And she wanted to get caught. And when I seen it, I looked at her, and she had called me out of my name, and for no reason. I'm like, oh, she wants a problem, and I see it, and no fault to her. She's my friend, but I know her level of where she's at. You know what I mean? And she was in a low place. So I said, look, this ain't good for either one of us. And I knew. I told myself, because I've been putting so much. It's not an easy thing. Just being involved in this lifestyle. It's mentally exhausting. There's constantly bad karma. Things are coming your way, even if it doesn't have a direct attachment to the game. But bad comes your way consistently. You might get disguised by that brief good, but bad is right around the corner really fast. Sure. I just remember saying, like, telling myself, if I put the same amount of time and energy that I'm putting into others to hopefully make some money. If I did that to myself, I know what I'll do. And at this point, I was really starting to believe in myself more, and I knew I could this with the same time, because it takes time and energy. It's not just they're saying, they force fraud coercion. It just sounds like this mystical thing, but no, it's really individuals working together in an illegal, immoral field to get money. It's so much attached to that, so much trauma for all sides, and just had to get out, man. That was it. Like I don't need to do that. I believe I'm smart. Let me try me for one.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you didn't have to hit the absolute bottom, because some people do that. They have to hit the absolute bottom before they get that wake up moment and realize there's a better potential out there. I was near it myself before I woke up. And that's now my mission, is to catch people before they hit that bottom. You obviously imagined a better future for yourself. So you imagined that others could possibly have that better future, right? And that's what led to this paving great futures.
Correct. Yes, sir. And now just transferring, just realizing when I was young, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, I was that to me right now, that sounds super, super young. And it is. But me at 16, 17, 18, I was already an adult with adult responsibilities, not adult like I'm saying adult thinking. I'm saying adult. I had to feed, clothe, and shelter myself since 17 years old, officially paying for my own rent, going to junior year in high school, senior year. The 15, I was pretty much gone. 12 to 15, 12 to 14, I was a homeless kid. So I had to be an adult fast. And when you're just making those moves and life is moving at that rate, you don't realize that what you're doing, you have influence over other people that are watching you. So they're that same eight of my friends that didn't have a dad, that situation can be multiplied to the whole community. So you have a bunch of young men now that are around with no father figure that are watching you. That kid's 10 years old. So that 10-year-old, 17, you're like the king. 16, oh, you're 16? You are the father figure and leader. But the 16-year-old isn't old enough or mature enough to know that he's influencing his neighborhood, his younger brothers and cousins and people around him. So time is going by. I don't realize that, because I was a cool kid back in the day too. In my wrong, in my badness, I had a name for myself and a crew, and people followed us. We were already the popular ones. Yeah. So when that came to my mind and brought to my attention that this group of kids had literally been patterning their lives after me and my friends, and not in a good way, because I wasn't good yet, but in a bad way, and that I actually had influence over them, like the older homies in the community had influence over me when I was a kid, I realized then, I have work to do. I want this to stop at this time. Like now, I have names going down my arm of all of my dead friends. How do we do this to stop this from happening? Because as I look out at these kids, I'm seeing, images of my brother that's dead, of my best friends that have been killed. How do we change this? So that's when Paving Great Future started being born, of creating an entity that knew how to help these kids. Because there was not anything in existence that I knew of. I mean, at this point, I'm 30, 31 years old, and I'm like, that's long enough to be in the community and not see one solution pop up for us. So I'm like, that's when the saying, the cavalry is not coming for us. We got to save ourselves. So that's what we're on right now, saving the community the best way we know how.
Absolutely. By raising your voice, by getting out there, making an impact. So you started this thing, but now you've told us about the amazing programs, the scholarships that you're doing. But I mean, how do you go from starting this up with an idea to getting this great, amazing programming operated?
Team. I have a sixth grade education. I did graduate high school, but the last time the San Diego education system taught me something was the sixth grade. So it wasn't scholastics that did it. It was honestly transferable skills, using the same skills and attributes that I had when I was in different levels of street game. And one thing you learn there, and Street skills, street business skills are transferable to professional business skills. Corporate street hustle and corporate muscle, pretty much the same thing, but it's just one is doing things legally, hopefully, because either way you'll go to the feds. So either you're doing things legally and correct. And the main thing, every there's not a movement, a program. There's nothing epic, nothing grand that's ever been done in the history of man that didn't require a team. No one individual can move people. You may see that single figure as the singled out figure, but Martin Luther King had a team of people, organizers, moms, grandmas, youth. There was a team. Jesus had disciples, and they probably had a team behind the disciples, but we know for sure there was disciples, but we know of Jesus, So not comparing myself to Martin Luther King or Jesus or anything, but every corporation, there has to be a CEO, CFO, COO, staff members. The bigger and the more grand you are. So first thing was recognizing that I needed a team. And I went after people with like minds, like hearts, and knew the community and could do the work. At the beginning, we didn't know what we were doing, but we knew we had to do something. So we learned along the way. And the other main thing is you only know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. Seek advice, seek mentorship. So from the beginning, we of our organization, yes, we're all from the streets and don't necessarily know this nonprofit or corporate world, but I know somebody who does. So start there. Go find that guru, find that mentor, and it's going to help the process along the way. And if you don't have a mentor that you could go to physically, there's this thing called Google, or YouTube, or there's mentors there. Type in, how do I start a nonprofit organization? I guarantee you'll get answers. So yeah.
And I want to point out that, look, my mentors, they didn't choose me, right? They didn't pluck me out of a crowd and say, hey, RJ, I want to talk to you.
Right.
I pursued them. I knew there's an interest there. I followed them, and now I got their attention. Now they're starting to teach me. Now they're starting to give me the attention and training that I need, right? So you need to go out there and pursue it yourself. Take the initiative.
Yep. Absolutely.
You've had again, this is amazing programming. I love the journey you've laid out for people, because you've laid it out so that anybody can understand and take this journey themselves. And I think that's the whole basis behind your programming, right?
And then another thing is your journey. There's no other journey that's your journey. With different journeys.
Can I get a high five on that one? Because I live the same mission.
High five, man. Hey, I have 3 co-founders of this organization. One of them I've known since we were 12 years old. We were in that same middle school together, terrorizing the school. One has been my friend since 15. Grew up in the hood too, but had both parents, went to college, got his master's degree, did all that. It's 3 of us from the same community, same hood, started the same organization. We have 3 different journeys still. So love your journey. And just because you hear something that sounds nice and fly, that doesn't mean you have to compare yourself or match that person's journey. Figure out and spend your time. What is your journey? What makes you happy? What makes you tick? Because these light bulbs, I just showed you a list of dead friends on my arm. The first one on that list died and was murdered at 15. The last 2 were in their 30s that are on there, were both murdered 6 months apart, and they were in 2017. That was you don't know when or how your time is going to end. So in the meantime, spend your time finding out what makes you tick, what makes you happy. I don't care what it is, and let God judge you. The opinions of others and what you're doing with your limited time on this earth is nobody's business but your own. What's your doing?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I'm not done with you yet. We run usually 30 minutes. We can run it to 45 minutes because I want to find out more about your organization. You say you're based in San Diego.
Yes.
Are you spreading? Are you national, international?
So, okay, for those that hate COVID, close your ears real quick. I'm not talking to you. I love the pandemic era. It was bad. People died. I'm sorry. Nothing. Rest in peace. Everybody that lost their lives was impacted in a negative way. But with every with every time of chaos or within every
Uncertainty.
bad time, there's an equal seed of opportunity,
Absolutely.
equal or greater seed. And it's just a seed. Now it's on us to take that seed and nurture it, water it, and let it bloom and grow. So at this time of the pandemic, our organization actually we were already in position to help community. We fed over 100,000 people during the pandemic. Literally 10,000 people was our average monthly of families we were giving food to. We're not the food giving organization, not like that, but we jumped in because there was a need. The racial justice movement was popping right around then too. So a lot of different grants that were focused on African American led organizations were coming. And one thing for sure that it did, me and you're in Canada right now. I'm in San Diego, California, in my living room. We're having a full-on interview conversation right now that will go out to whoever taps in, who has the internet. That's amazing. So Tom, during the pandemic, we would have never previously, we've had classes for the past 7 years, programs, but we never thought about having them on Zoom also. So, but when we were forced to do them on Zoom only, not because we didn't want to stop, we're like, oh shoot, why stop this? Because people who had transportation issues, people who couldn't necessarily, who lived for whatever reason, had kids and couldn't leave their kids because childcare is expensive. For whatever reason, we were now able to service those people. Yes, in person is a lot better feel and all this, but this person didn't have to miss out because they couldn't come to our location at 6 p.m. at night. So now we will never go backwards. This pandemic could clear up. We'll never wear a mask again. I don't care. Everybody vaccinated, whatever, each side, whatever side. We'll never go back to only in person. It's virtual. Our last women's entrepreneur class, we were able to advertise on several different pages and groups with women victims of human sex trafficking and reached out. This last class, we had a woman in Romania, Hawaii, Florida, New York, and Texas, right? We just had our entrepreneur class. One of the young men that was in the class, he's in Seattle, Washington, taking the class. So yes, in a short period of time, not only for the first time did we start servicing people out of San Diego, but we got out of California, we got out of the United States. There was a woman in Romania benefiting from our services. So that, to me, that's amazing, knowing where we came from, where we are, and knowing with technology, you have the ability to reach people everywhere as long as they have the internet.
Yes, absolutely. We are changing the world by being able to expand and go with this opportunity as you talk about. Yes, again, rest in peace, and let's acknowledge everybody who has not made it with us through this pandemic. But it also not only has created opportunities for you and I here, but it creates abundance opportunities for others out there to go out and expand their life, their income, their economic situation, as we were talking about.
Right. Absolutely.
So I do hope your organization gets all the attention and the expansion it needs. Have you considered like other chapters, like get other people to run other chapters in other cities, that sort of thing?
Yeah, eventually that is a plan, and we've talked about this since the beginning. And one of the ideas too is we don't necessarily need to see a paving great futures chapter in other places, but there may be other, because every city has their own nuances. Like I know I couldn't just go to Chicago and build this same program. I'm just using Chicago. I could say build Mississippi. Like there's very much similarities, rooted in poverty, similar communities, but the maneuvering would have to be from locals that are there that know the political the street politics. What gang area, where am I at? I need to know these things. What's the history between these neighborhoods? Who are the shot callers? All of these things that we've known organically here in our city have made us successful. So there's a level of, maybe it doesn't have to be our flag that's being flown. Is there an organization or a group of people out there that have the same hearts, that know their community, that we can come help build them and their capacity, so the goal is to win the Super Bowl. I don't care what the team is, but we just want to win. So we'll help them. That's one idea. And another idea, of course, is to do, similar programming and set it up other places. currently over this next year, my plan, God willing, is to package all of our programs that we have, our youth entrepreneur program, our women's entrepreneur program, our culinary training program, is to I wanted to package these and with curriculum, with video, like the full package. And organization XYZ can utilize what we have, Paving
Yes.
Great Futures, wherever they are. And even just like the people I've met in Canada, the similarities, like I can't wait to actually physically go, because my mind, I need to see it. I just had an interview with a probation officer from Ontario, Canada yesterday. And she's working on and getting ideas on intervention and prevention for males that were pimps. And it was just shocking to me. I loved the idea. And there's a probation officer. She's like, I've looked around. She's been in Ontario for pretty much her whole life. And she's like, there's programs for the John. There's programs for the woman. There's like zilch for the guy. So yeah, so I've been reached out to so much from people in Canada. I love it. And it's like when I first learned and heard how similar the urban, the impoverished, marginalized communities, like the exact duplicate over here. I'm like, oh, you would think it's, oh, that's Canada or this America, we're different. Like, oh. And then one of the survivors I talked to, one of my close friends, she was telling me about how the pimps from this side, when that was blowing up, were going, just crossing the border and bringing it up there, that culture. And that's why it's similar, because it was from this pretty much same people doing that, very interesting.
Absolutely. There's differences for sure. But again, it's so transferable. So I definitely look forward to that. I see that as something that's a great opportunity for you to expand. Not just your market, of course. You don't want to make a profit.
Right.
That's the point.
At the same time,
expand that opportunity for people
yeah,
globally is just, wow, amazing. Way to go.
And brother, and yes, we do want to expand the profit as well, because
yes,
for real, how do we continue to keep our rent is $6,000 a month right now?
Yes.
Something has to pay that. So if we can win, we like the win-win-win model. If we can win by keeping our programs going, win by helping that organization with to help others, that's a win-win on all ways, and win in the community.
Absolutely. So we got to end up this show. It's been a great conversation, but I do like to ask two questions. You've already probably answered them, but what can our young men and boys do to empower their own lives?
Man, just that sentence, and I'm gonna go back. That's gonna be my mantra of the day. What can you do to empower your own life? Realize it's your own life, not your friends. Not the girl you got the hots for right now, not the lack of parenting and lack of mentorship, not the over parenting. It's your life. You have to take control. Figure it out. It's don't lose your brain because you can't figure it out right now. But just understand you're going through the process of figuring out. Mm-hmm. There's something in you that you've had since a kid, maybe teenager, something you like doing. Start there. If you were doodling as a 12, 13-year-old and you just stopped doodling, but you used to love it, go start doodling again. Mm-hmm. Figure out how you can make money off stuff you like. And then that doesn't have to be the end all. Just start going down that rabbit hole. And trust me, as you pursue, life will pursue you and bring you other options, and you'll figure it out. Your own life.
Way to go. Thank you. That's amazing. But what can we do as a society to help them on that journey?
Society sucks. I'm back to individualism. I don't know what society
can do, but I mean, what could we? Okay, how can we better ourselves as a society?
Oh God, hey, that's a big task. It's hard enough to keep myself in better and not fall down and be the same person I could be. If that's what society could do, worry about your damn self. If everybody themselves, society would be fixed and we'd be helping others.
Listen, I'm writing a book and I'm going to tell you about the title now. It's called Creating a Better World While Building a Better You by Becoming a Better Me.
Come on, man.
Because it's all about me, the man I can become for my family, for those around me, creates a better environment for those around me. And then it creates their better environment for those around them.
It's
You know
the
what I mean? It's
ripple
all
effect.
about expansion from what I can do.
Come on, man. You can't control another human being, another kid, but you get better. Your family gets better. If every individual worked on them, there would be no problems. Do that. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for this, Armand King. This has been an amazing talk. You've been an amazing guest. You've left us with some tremendous advice. I thank you for coming out and sharing your journey with us today.
Absolutely. Please send me the link whenever this is released. I'd love to push it too.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right, guys, have
and I hope your organization, sorry, let's get that right again.
Paving Great Futures.
Paving Great Futures. I wish you all the best and the expansion. I've maybe even come part of that. So I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hey, you're in Canada. You can, with internet, you can take a class.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, brother. Peace.
Thank you. As many Canadians know, our Indigenous communities are in big crisis, and we are stepping up. We're still continuing our donation drive for Indigenous families. That will continue until International Men's Day. We are still working to coordinate those items. Please reach out to us. You can call us at 416-356-7414 or our phone number 437-889-8329. Email us info@voiceofmen360.org or reach out to us through Facebook Messenger. We're working to coordinate to collect those items. We have several live shows here in Voice of Men 360. The first you just participated in is called Open Up, which takes place Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where we invite people out to share their life experience with you to help empower others. And then we have the same thing in Tamil language. We call that Vili, which means I. That takes place Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern Time for those international as well as local. We also host a monthly webinar the first Saturday of every month from 10:30 Eastern Time, where we bring out expertise of organizations to discuss a topic of interest to them, as well as interest to and our community. And then we host a special show called The Unspoken Tears. That takes place the second Saturday of every month. Armand has already been a guest on that show. So again, please join us the second Saturday of every month at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for The Unspoken Tears, where the topic is domestic violence against men, bullying, male sexual abuse, traumas, and human trafficking. We discuss them here in Voice of Men 360. We also co-host a show with the All Bengal Men's Forum. This is called the South Asian Men's Show, where, again, we talk about issues facing South Asian men, where different countries will come out each month to discuss a topic of interest to their particular region. This takes place the third Sunday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30 Eastern Time. And then we turn all of our content into podcast episodes. So please look out for us on all of your favorite platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and more. We host a monthly men's group. This one is men only, so that men can feel comfortable discussing issues of particular interest to them. This takes place Tuesdays, every second Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7:30 through Zoom. The next one will be November 2nd. Please register and come and join us for that one. You can find the information on our Facebook page and our Facebook group. We also host an Indigenous peer-to-peer support group. We call this one Pass the Talking Stick. It takes place the fourth Friday of every month from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. through Zoom. Again, please register and join us for that. And there are no limitations with gender, age, or nationality. All walks of life are invited to participate in our programming. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows, or you're willing to be a part of our organization and help us, whether directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We'd love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, NGOs, associations, government officials, businesses, and more. Please reach out to us. Again, our contact information, 437-889-8329. Email us info@voiceofmen360.org or our website, www.voiceofmen360.org for more. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more on YouTube. And then visit us on Facebook at our pages and our group, facebook.com/group/Voice of Men 360. And then we are trying to increase the awareness. We're trying to increase our membership. Again, it's to increase the awareness for International Men's Day. We're looking to raise the number of our members by almost double to 5,000 members by International Men's Day, November 19th. So please share this. Please share the message and like us for more. Thank you for joining us today. We want to reach out to help more people. So please continue your support. Again, until next time, thank you for joining me. I'm your host, RJ Horner, asking you to open up.